Dinesh, if I did that behind your back, you might have a point. You're right here. You have a mic. I asked you a question. Well, answer it.
I'll answer it. So my argument was, and this is an argument that was basically made by not just by Booker T. Washington, many others. They basically argued that slavery was a transmission belt. Slavery was evil, and it was terrible for the slaves. But they asked, what about the descendants of slaves who were subsequently born in America as opposed to being born, let's say, in Africa? Muhammad Ali, when he came back from the rumble in the jungle in Zaire, was asked by a reporter, hey, champ, what did you think of Africa? And he goes, thank God my granddaddy got on that boat. Now, this is Ali being very politically incorrect, but I think making a point that is worth considering. And that is to say that there is great value. We immigrants go through great difficulties to come into the orbit of Western freedom. So this is the complexity of the point I was making, that the slaves in America were worse off, but their descendants born in the orbit of American freedom in a land of opportunity are in fact better off.
That is unbelievably clear and concise, folks. You know what? Hearing it that way puts perspective on it. And that could apply to anybody that is escaping tyranny, brutality, famine, any kind of human dilemma. And they get a chance to start fresh, to start anew, whether it's the first generation or because the first generation made that first step to get out of that situation, to go to someplace, to get to someplace, to get away from that situation. And then the ongoing legacy, the ongoing generations will then benefit because they were starting in a place where those situations, those problems don't exist, at least not to the amount of problems that were there in the past. Brilliantly put, brilliantly put.
So there's another point I want to get to here, which is, Dinesh, you have a movie that you put out, I think in 20...
I'm glad you put that in context, by the way. I'm sure the slaves were so thankful. You made a cogent point there.
I said that...
Congratulations, you've been put in the orbit of freedom, ironically, through slavery. Hundreds of years of slavery. That is a curious orbit of freedom.
Cenk.
Don't worry, though. Your great-grandkids one day might be free after I whip you, I own you, I kill you, I separate your family, I rape your wife. After all that, your great-grandkids might be in the orbit of freedom. Why, thank you so much.
And every single black person, every single immigrant that came over here or anywhere around the world that escaped whatever it was that they escaped from, or like I said, slavery, they were brought over here. You're talking about generation after generation after generation. That's why many people say, hey, don't call me African American. I don't want to be called African American. They say that a lot of black people say African American is a derogatory term. It triggers them. And what do we hear from the left all the time? Oh, don't trigger anybody. It's their feelings. Well, a lot of black people here have a feeling, Cenk the Cenk, that they don't want to be called African American because they have no tie. They were never in Africa. They're Americans. They're black Americans. And if they descended from slaves, okay, so what? Big freaking deal. If you know that you had 7, 8 generations ago, okay, somebody in your family, owned a slave. What is that? Your descendant, that sins of the past generations now flow forward to you? What kind of stupidity, idiocy, moronicity, retardedness is that, Cenk the Cenk?
So I just finished saying that slavery was a terrible moral crime, and we have to distinguish the slaves from their descendants. That's what I did say. You weren't listening because you've trained your ear to jump before you think.
Dinesh again. I'm telling you what, folks. He is absolutely every single time Cenk bloviates, Dinesh puts it, he just hits it right spot on. Spot on. And Cenk just has to go through these theatrics to try to see if he can, through his buffoonery, basically, and blubbery, hopefully he's getting, some claps from, his followers in the audience or whatever. And even those are tepid responses at best.
Hey, you guys want to do a poll of African Americans in this country and ask them if they should thank white people for slavery? How do you think that poll comes out, Dinesh?
I don't think anyone has ever said that.
Okay, but no, today they are the descendants who have been brought into the orbit of freedom. So according to your logic, they should be incredibly thankful. Let's do a poll. Let's find out.
Hold on a
second.
second.
Do you really believe these things, Dinesh?
Cenk.
Or are you trying to get paid by right-wing guys who are paying you to say this nonsense?
Cenk, there are penniless Irish driven out by the potato famine who came starving to America. Their lives were actually, in many senses, worse. But their descendants, born here now in America, obviously enjoy freedoms that their ancestors didn't have. So I don't understand why you are, I don't know if you're being vile or being stupid, but it looks to me like it's some bizarre combination of the two. You refuse to try to understand what I'm saying.
No, I think I got it.
You got it.
Yes.
I think you got it. At least to the degree you can.
Let me ask you about another book you wrote where you said that 9/11 was because of Planned Parenthood, Nancy Pelosi, and Brokeback Mountain.
Really? That's what I said.
Yes,
and that it was... clarify.
Go ahead, clarify. That's what you have a mic for.
Sure.
Go for it, big guy.
Yeah.
How about it, Hoss?
So in my book, The Enemy at Home, I raised the question of, when you look at the propaganda of the radical Muslims, what are the themes that they emphasize to recruit on the Arab street? And I said, you see foreign policy in there, you see Palestine, you see Saudi Arabia, but many of these guys aren't in Palestine or Saudi Arabia, they're in Pakistan, they're in Egypt, so what attracts them to the radical Muslim cause? I said, this whole notion of America as the great Satan is an attempt to capitalize on the values of Hollywood that are projected abroad. Now, here we have to realize we're not just talking about radical Muslims. Throughout Asia today, there's a slogan that's gathering currency. It's called modernization, yes, westernization, no. And this is traditional people all over the world who want Western technology, and they want constitutional rights, and they want democracy, but they don't like what they see as some of the more shameless aspects of Western culture shoved down their throats. This is a real issue worldwide. Look at the recent case in Orlando. If anyone thinks that there's no merit to this, just read the book. He doesn't read books. What he does, he makes these one-sentence summaries.
I don't read his books. There's a big difference.
That's right. You don't read them, but you talk about them. You don't read them, but you talk about them because someone gave you the one-sentence summary.
All right. Have you watched every one of my shows?
No.
How dare you? Don't talk about anything I said.
All right, let's move on to...
I haven't talked about your shows.
All right, by the way, you just said, liberals caused 9/11. That's your argument, right?
I said that not the real not actual American culture, but the projection of American culture abroad is giving aid and comfort to the radical Muslims who are using it as an effective recruiting tool. I did say that.
So when you mentioned Brokeback Mountain, that was just a coincidence that movie happened to be about homosexuality?
No, I'm actually saying that the trumpeting of values like homosexuality, feminism, in third world cultures becomes a way of people saying, we don't want that. We don't want that over here. You join me to fight against the great Satan.
So Pat Robertson says homosexuals caused 9/11, and you say the spreading of homosexual culture caused 9/11. That is very sophisticated. I missed that nuance. By the way, the oldest trick in the book for people who write obnoxious, horrible books is if a decent person doesn't read them, well, you didn't read them. Okay, it's the oldest trick in the book. Yeah, I saw the trailers for your movies. They're preposterous. I saw I read the introductions and the summaries of your books that are What an enormous waste of time, because the whole thing is to mislead everybody. That is the whole point of the book. So, for example, you talk about Obama's rage. So that's like, if you don't know, that's a classic racist trope, the angry black man. So he wrote a book about it, and one of his supporters yells out, "It's true," right? And so
It is.
Again, Dinesh, do you know that that's a racist trope, or is that like a newsflash to you that throughout history in America that they have used the idea of the angry black man to keep blacks down, and you just happen to be talking about Obama's rage from the guy who's like you could say a lot of bad things about Obama, and I have, but rage? Really?
Yes.
Let me
The
just give a
only
little
way you
more
would say
context
that
about the Cenk.
is if you wanted to say angry black man. Hey, whites, will you buy my book? Will you buy my book, white racist?
So let me add some context to. So you released a movie in 2012 about Obama's America, and you made some prognostications about 2016. So I think this is interesting. We're in 2016. Maybe you could do a self-inventory of which predictions came true, and be honest. I mean, no one can predict the future, so it's totally fine if you didn't get everything right, and then we'll have you respond.
Yeah. So the trope of black rage is something that is within American culture. The idea it came out of the Malcolm X talk, for example, about the good Negro and the bad Negro. There's a whole history here. I've written a 2,000-page book about this. My argument about Obama is different.
Even they didn't clap.
My argument about Obama is a little different. My argument was that if you actually read Obama's book, he is less a figure of the civil rights movement of America than of the great anti-colonialist struggle of the Third World. Now, there's recent literature on Obama by people in the Obama White House that confirm this notion, that Obama almost learned from a young age, not just from Hawaii, but Indonesia, his trips to Kenya, to look at America from the outside in. I think in this way he's even different than Hillary. Now, you can judge Obama for yourself and see if this is a correct angle. I might be wrong about it, but when you have a guy who's the president of the United States, you can't immunize criticism of him. It's not the same thing as me talking about a bunch of kids in the inner city. I'm talking about the president, and if you say, you can't say he's angry because you're appealing to the ancient trope of black rage, we would not be able to have free criticism of our leaders because they would just constantly be blocking it on this and blocking it on that. So I challenge you to cite a single line or paragraph I have ever written about Obama that is racist in any way. No one has even alleged that. And so what we're getting here, well, he's alleging it. And I think
the name of the book is Obama's Rage. Okay, yes, that's my quote. Yes, you do.
I think that settles his case.
It's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that I happen to pick a theme that is the identical of a racist trope for hundreds of years in America. Golly gee, did I do that? And did my white racist donors, were they super happy about it? What a wild coincidence.
So wait, you didn't answer the question about the predictions.
So in the movie, the beauty of a movie is that you can watch it now. It came out in 2012, and you can check. I made specific predictions in the movie. I said that Obama will double the national debt. I said that he would undermine our allies and strengthen our enemies. I said that he would slash the defense budget, slash our nuclear arsenal, and allow other countries hostile to us to develop nuclear weapons. Now, I'm not gloating here because I'm actually very unhappy that these things have come true. I see American allies one by one drop in the Middle East. Mubarak was our ally. Obama pulled the rug out from under him. Gaddafi was not our ally, but he was behaving himself in the wake of the Iraq War. He was giving us intelligence on terrorism. This is Hillary's line on Gaddafi. We went there, we saw, he died. In other words, we knock out a guy who's working with us. Meanwhile, Assad in Syria is still in power. The mullahs in Iran are even stronger. So it is a matter of clinical classification to see if these predictions are true or false. You can make up your own mind, but if you get a summary from this guy, you can be pretty sure that it's a cartoon version of what I did.
Okay, wow. He comes out there firing again. This round, goes directly to Dinesh D'Souza again. And this whole thing about, calling Obama's rage, you're saying the angry black man. Who gives a crap if you're talking about the angry black man, angry white man, angry brown man? Look, little white here, right? Little white. What am I, angry white man now? Over here, little light brown. Am I angry little brown man now? I mean, Dinesh, he's brown. Is he the brown man? So one brown man is saying about a black man being angry. So what? Has nothing to do with it. Oh, but you know what? It's the trope. It's been around there for centuries. The angry brown man. Can't say that. No, it's First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, but you can't say that. No way. Cenk the Cenk. Unbelievable. It's just, and then he went on to say, when he asked him, oh, but you didn't answer, what did you say in your book? What predictions came true? He threw him out there 3 or 4 and Cenk the Cenk. What's he going to say to this? He can't say anything. Nothing at all. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this part of the video clip of the debate. And you've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Put your comments down below. Let us know what you think. And my final comment is, when you're right, you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.